Glad to have you back, and you're still watching Nigeria Decides. This time around, our focus is on the Nigeria Police Force and the way forward. What do you think about the Nigeria Police? What do you think can be done to improve the force? Well, share your thoughts with us and solutions as well on our social media platform at Plus TV Africa. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Joining us now in our studio, we have Tanwa Ashiru, security consultant. Good evening. As well as Ogene Boruwe, soldier management consultant. Good evening.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady, for joining us. We've actually been discussing this with the earlier guests who were with us. Now we were still trying to find out what the major issue with the Nigerian police is. So let me get your thoughts, Taya.
Okay, so there's several different issues all across the board. And one thing I always tell people is that when you see a team that's not working, you have to look at the leader. Part of it has to do with leadership. How committed is the leader to make sure that whatever targets they have, whatever goals they have, whatever the focus is, they're actually meeting it. And that has been the problem. So number one, let's look at funding. Funds. I know we keep saying there's not enough money, but the truth is the amount of money that's been going to the police has quadrupled over the last 5 years. So if the amount of money budgeted for the police keeps increasing, but yet it's not enough, then we have to think about the current structure, meaning with the amount of money we have right now, running the police force the way it is not going to work. We need to focus and realize certain things and admit certain things
Does
first.
more money mean more money to go around? Because of course we know that it is increasing and we also have inflation. Are we also putting that into account?
I mean, part of it is also accountability. So the truth is you can keep throwing money into something, but you actually won't even see a difference if it's not being spent properly and being properly accounted for. And I'll give you an example with regards to money. Apparently, each police station, we actually heard a commissioner of police here in Lagos at one point, I was saying it, each police station gets about 33K or so to function every month. 33,000. How do you fuel your vehicles? How do you power? I don't know how much you pay for electricity, but it costs a lot of money. Fuel for the generator, all sorts of things. How are they supposed to function like that? So it's currently not working.
And earlier in our discussion, we're also looking at the appointment of the IGP as well, in determining how well we have a good leadership. What's also your thoughts on that as well?
Taking it from where she started, talking about the police and the leadership, I think the challenge we have with the police today in Nigeria is professionalism and our political structure. The police, when they go out of this country for international engagements, they come out on tops. Nigerian police, United Nations, OAU, wherever, that is the AU, African Union, they come out on tops. But why here, it goes down to the challenge of the leader. Because the police, they are not professional, they are not independent, they are still subject to the federal, who appointed them, the person in power. So, but rather than be independent to serve the people, they serve the person in power.
Now,
so it's not as if the police are not...
Now, we're counting down to next week's election as well. We've raised the issue of funding. Well, some of those fundings have come a little late, and training is also important. So quickly, Tawa, take us through some of the training they've had, because in our previous discussion, we said, well, the recruitment process of some of these officers is pretty more shady, if we could use that word. So now that we're counting down to the election and the IGP has said, well, they would be professional and they'll be neutral. What are the trainings that we're supposed to be having, should have had, and are having to ensure that they deliver come February 16 and March 2nd?
Okay, so part of the reason, in fact, now where I'm dressed and being here, we just came from some training we were doing for the Lagos State Security Agency. So all of them, you're looking at LASMA, the Lagos State Environment Corps, the Lagos State Neighborhood Watch, and so on. So we're training all of them. NSCDC, in fact, is also involved. And we have to show them a couple of things with regards to the elections. Number one, they need to understand the trends and the patterns, the situation as it is. It's a volatile season we're in. Number two, identifying the risks and the threats. Number three, conflict resolution. You're going to be there. There are going to be people who are angry and going to start fighting. what are you going to do? So part of what we're training them is how to do risk identification. How do you identify when things are about to get escalated? When you see a group of people coming, how do you report? How do you profile? When you see certain people, can you profile, possibly look at it and figure out whether or not they may pose a threat? And so these are some of the skill set that we've been training them on ahead of the elections.
Mr. Soje, don't you think this training is coming a little too late? There's just about a few days to the election. Even if it were held last month, that's still late in my own assessment.
It can never be too late in this case. It's better late than never. Better than never. And it's a project. This training specific. It's not for their usual daily operations. This is like she said. This is an election that comes once in a while, and they pose their own peculiar risks.
Now, one of the issues that we've also seen is the fact that we don't have enough of the police force taking center stage when we're looking at elections. Now, Tanwa, do you expect that we'll still see a large number of military men to support if the police are not just enough?
Yes, and not just military. You're going to see the military, you're going to see the police, you're going to see all state parastatals as well that will be there. So in the case of Lagos, for instance, you will see LASMA, you see FRSC. Anyone who has a uniform is likely going to come out and support, or rather will help out with security and stability and peace on that day. And the reason why they have to is because you have a bunch of young people who, some of them are focused on causing chaos and violence. So you need to make sure you have ample number of servicemen or law enforcement that will be able to combat that as well.
Talking about that, we see that elections cannot necessarily be void of disorderly conduct. But we don't see enough of arrests when we're looking at that, because we see little breakout of violence. We're not expecting any large outbreak of violence. But in the little pockets here and there, we don't have enough arrest and there's no prosecution. So those who perpetrate such acts believe that, well, it's business as usual.
I mean, definitely. We already know this. A lot of criminals get away with a lot of their crimes in Nigeria. But we were even talking about something, about that offline with regards to even the prisons. Right now, they're overcrowded. In fact, even in terms of training, when we're training them, one of the things that we've been advocating for is joint training exercises. So there's nothing wrong with a LASMA or FRSC person also doing joint exercises with the police or with the military, so they can learn some skills. How do you detain, a large group of people who are maybe causing chaos, and just detain them in terms of being able to stabilize them, put them in a corner until things settle off, and then you decide what next to do. So sometimes they need this additional training on what to do. How do you profile? How do you find the people? How do you arrest them? How do you detain them? How do you enroll them into the system if we have one? And, these are sort of things that need to be learned. But with regards to just arresting, I mean, again...
And prosecuted.
Well, that's also, we have issues with the legal and judicial system as well in the country.